I was talking to somebody earlier today about how I have noticed that I'm drawn to things that I don't know a lot about. I mean, from the first things that I did, like Awakenings, I had no knowledge of medicine of any kind. And so I sort of learned about it as I was writing or researching and writing, and I think that's a good thing. People say, oh, write what you know. I would kind of like purposely write about things that I didn't know, and I would learn about them while I was writing them. I was always a fan of it. I mean, I'd read it years ago. So when somebody, producers who had the rights to it came to me and suggested it, I thought, yeah, okay, I wouldn't be interested in doing a remake of a movie. I wouldn't be interested in doing another 2-hour version of this. But maybe I could do something different here. I could do something that approximates more of how I felt when I read this book. And I can get the tone, and I can have the time to sort of get the sort of details of character and details of story. You'd never be able to do this episode that you just saw in a movie. I mean, it's 25 minutes of no dialogue. And it was things like that I knew right at the beginning that I wanted to do that kind of thing. So that's why. I mean, I thought there's a way of doing this in a different way that was interesting to me.
Yeah. What was it about those sequences?
Like I was saying before, it's like total visual storytelling, and I think a lot of people think of screenwriters as dialogue writers, and I've never thought of myself as a dialogue writer. I've always seen things in pictures. That's why I'm a screenwriter, not a novelist. To me, the sequences, like this sequence, or there's another one in 3 that has 20, 30 minutes of no dialogue. Yeah. They're 20 or 30 pages. I mean, it's written, and that is exciting to me to try to do something like that. Research was it was different. It wasn't so much in the writing; it was in the shooting of it.
Yeah.
And David Gropin and I, the production designer, spent a lot of time in Italy going around and finding these locations, and that was a really big part of the research. Also, David and I went back to photographs from the period that we would exchange during that year of COVID. We would send each other these pictures of references, a mood, a train station, great photographs, and that was really important for me and for the art department. And then the costume designers, they sent me these binders it was actually research for clothes. But they were from the period, and there were thousands of these photographs that they somehow found and that I'd never seen before, by region. So you would have Rome, you'd have the Amalfi Coast, you'd have Palermo, and each one would have hundreds of photos in it. And that became not only important as research for costume, but it was important for research of the period and just the look of it. And so I would share those with David, too. So there was like a photo that was in that binder, which was a couple on the beach, but, they were asleep. And the camera was about here, I would say. And all I did any different was to put the camera up 20 feet higher and shoot straight down on them. But that was like something that was inspired by one of these wardrobe photos.
So good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So talk about bringing on Robert Elswit, who you worked with on the night of. Why was he the right person for this? He's one of the best cinematographers ever.
Yeah, I mean, that's the main reason. I had worked with Robert before, so we had a relationship before this. But I did try, not speaking only about Robert, but in general with the department heads of people who had made movies. I wanted to approach this as a movie, not as a television show.
Yeah.
And so, that was important to me. So anyway, that's that.
So your approach of making it is,
we're making a long movie here.
Yeah.
We're going to approach it just like a movie. We're going to cross-board it. That was important for me to do every episode because you can cross-board and you can actually get the thing done in a reasonable amount of time, whereas if you're doing episode by episode with different directors, you have to keep going back to the same locations all the time. It gets very complicated. But Robert is, he is one of the greats. And he gives me a level of comfort that's really important to me. There's nothing that he can't do. There's things where I would show up on a set or some location and go, I don't know what we're going to do here. I mean, how on earth is this going to get lit? Oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's like nothing phases him, and he's such a master of lighting that it doesn't intimidate him, and he can do it in a really interesting way.